Even in a game like Destiny, which heavily revolves around the usage of abilities and your own personal mastery of the space magic that the game boasts, the 1v1 duel still lives on and is essential to the core of the game and to your foundation as a player. I am Awake, and this is my gunfight guide. So these tips are going to range in complexity, so some will be more advanced while others will be pretty basic. The first thing I'm going to stress is knowing your range. Okay, every single gunfight in this game really has more to do with the range of your weapons than the actual gun skill of either player. I've already expressed in another video why I don't like this, but basically, if you play in the wrong range, you will lose, no matter what. Doesn't matter how good you are, if you are using an SMG and you are too far away, you will lose no matter what. If you have a hand cannon and you run into someone who is too far away and they have a scout, you will lose no matter what. So you need to understand your range and position accordingly. This leads into my next tip, which I'm going to call reading your gunfight. This, in my opinion, is one of the #1 things that separates the good players from the rest. When you challenge someone in a gunfight, you need to instantly read your situation. First, you need to see how many enemies are there. Are there more than one? Is it just one? This is important. You need to understand how many people will be looking at you, because it doesn't matter how good you are. If there's 3 people shooting at you, you will not win. But let's say there's just one person. Now you need to instantly figure out what weapon are they using. Is it a hand cannon? Is it an SMG? You need to understand how close they are, their range. If they're close to you and they have an SMG, you need to disengage. If they're far away from you and they have a pulse, you need to disengage. You need to understand things like that, and it goes along with knowing your range. But when you peek someone, you need to figure out what gun they're using almost instantly. It's important to understand this mid-fight. Another thing, are they low health? This is also important. Sometimes you can be at a disadvantage range-wise if they're at low health. For example, maybe you threw a grenade, or maybe they just fought someone else. You need to also be able to figure out their health. All of these things you need to observe and process instantly. Now, here's why this is important. You need to be able to feel out your gunfight and determine mid-fight, am I winning this or am I losing this? Did I miss my first shot but he hit his? Did I get flinched? You need to be able to feel out your fight and determine if you are winning or losing. Because here's the part that separates good players. Good players will peek, fire a few shots, realize, hey, I'm losing this, I missed. Or he has a pulse and he's in his range. If I stay, I will lose, and they will disengage. I'm telling you, this is a huge skill gap in the game. I'm sure you've run into that one player in your lobby that you just cannot quite kill. He always gets away. He's always so low, you just cannot quite get him. He always runs away just in time. Or if he stays, it's because he beats you in the fight. This is what the best players do. They can determine while they're fighting if they're winning or losing, and they can disengage or engage depending on how they feel. So ideally, your gunfight should go like this. You should slide out or peek using your peeker's advantage, and you should determine instantly how many enemies there are, what guns they're using, and as you're fighting, you need to determine, I'm hitting my shots, I can stay and win this, or oh, I missed and he didn't miss, so I need to get out. You need to be able to determine if you should stay or leave mid-fight. This is what the best players do. Okay, next I'm going to talk about strafing. So, while you are in a duel, you should not be standing still. You need to be strafing from side to side. Now, strafing sort of works differently depending on if you use a controller or a mouse and keyboard. You can strafe faster on M and K than you can on a controller, so definitely keep this in mind. It's not a huge deal, but you do strafe a little faster, because if you think about how a keyboard works, if you press one, you will go to the right. If you press the other, you will go to the left instantly. Now on a controller, you have to move the thumbstick to the right, but then when you want to go left, you can't just press left and go left instantly. You have to drag the thumbstick across the middle where nothing is happening, and then it will go left. So you need to keep that in mind. That little difference does make you strafe faster. You can peek shot a little bit better on M and K. Now don't get me wrong, the difference isn't huge, but I just wanted to point that out. In general, you shouldn't really be strafing to try to dodge bullets. Yes, that is going to be part of the reason you strafe, but you really want to be strafing mostly to help you hit your target. Strafing is a good way to line up your shot rather than moving your actual crosshair. Your target will likely be strafing as well, and you can easily sort of strafe with them to make sure your shots are lined up. So I have 2 tips for strafing that do have to do with making you harder to hit. The first one is in close range specifically. At close range, and I'm talking like SMG, fusion, maybe slug range, you do not really want to be spamming back and forth. You can, but it's much more effective to make longer, more drawn out strafing patterns, because if you're just spamming back and forth, it's not really going to affect their aim enough. You're still a pretty big target, and if they're aiming center mass and you're just spamming, they don't really have to change their aim. But if you make more drawn out strafe patterns, you are going to be harder to hit. My second tip is to start throwing in some crouches while you're strafing. This is sort of hard to do on a controller, but if you put crouch on your right thumbstick or if you have paddles on the back of your controller, it is doable. This does take some practice, but it can really help you avoid bullets, especially at close range. You can duck under chaperone shots and things like that. You can also duck SMGs, because a lot of times if they're aiming for your head and you duck and you're in close range like that, they will miss a lot of their bullets when they need to adjust to lower their aim. You can also duck at long range against snipers. This is a good way to dodge some sniper headshots. Next, we are going to talk about cover and peeking. I've already explained peeker's advantage in a few videos, but basically you want to be the one peeking an angle, not getting peeked. So you need to be playing around cover, peeking in and out, taking advantage of this. Now, how do the best players peek from cover? They use it very unpredictably. You can peek from one side and then you can peek to the other side. You can peek standing up, or you can peek crouched. You can peek up close, then you can go back behind cover, back up, and peek from further away. Things like this will throw off your opponent. It may just be for a split second, especially against better players, but that split second could be the difference between winning or losing a fight. So you don't want to just be peeking the same way over and over and over. You want to be mixing it up in the middle of your fight. Like I said, maybe peek the left side, then peek the right side, then peek up close, back up, crouch, slide, mix it up. Don't just stand there and keep peeking back and forth. These little changes can be the difference maker in any gunfight. So my final advice more has to do with your loadout or your build. If you're looking to build specifically to win more gunfights, you should build into higher resil and stability, because both of these will help you manage your flinch. The flinch in this game is pretty crazy compared to a lot of other games. Personally, I don't think flinch should exist on primary weapons, but at least now we can build into it, so that does help. I always run at least 6 resilience. This also helps with thorn and shotguns in particular, so it's always a good idea to run resilience if you can. You can also use certain perks that will help you win more gunfights and sort of help with dueling. Some that come to mind off the top of my head would be Eye of the Storm or Opening Shot. These are both very good options. So that is going to do it for my gunfight guide. Hopefully you found something helpful. I was going to go over how to win duels while using each weapon type, like how to win when you're using a hand cannon or how to best use an auto rifle, but I think I'm going to make separate videos for each of those. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. But anyway, as always, I appreciate the support and I'll see you next time.